Let's recap Sunday in the NBA. We had performances from someone who might be your hero. We had performances that may have been the kryptonite against your fantasy team. We had big blowouts. We had weird decisions. And maybe there are players we need to scoot to the waiver wire for. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I've decided to defer all payments from this podcast to 2027. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshlloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by PricePicks. Now is the perfect time to join. Download the app today, use the code LOCKEDONNBA, and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That is right. There's no need to win to get the bonus. It is guaranteed. PricePicks, run your game. Go to Locked On Daily as well. LockedOnDaily.com, in fact, and find the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. That is LockedOnDaily.com. And if you want the fantasy basketball stuff that I talk about, well, it's here. And the best way to find it is subscribe, hit the bell, go to the trade deadline show, pre-ballot, pre-banger, pre-comment it. It's all over there. In fact, if you want to go drop... actually, I don't think you can drop comments on those. We're waiting for those live streams, so that's okay. You can put it in the chat, but that's about it. So there you go. Maybe false info. From me, we don't know why I did that weird intro to the show, but that's okay. We're ready to talk about Sunday. It is Penguin Awareness Day, so shout out to Andre Drummond, who, of course, didn't play. But let's talk about a little bit of news across the NBA, just some updates from the daily preview show. I didn't think that Steph Curry was going to play. I still actually don't think he will play. They play Monday, then they play Wednesday, Thursday. So I would say it's a good chance to get Steph 2 games off, but we'll find out. He is officially questionable. Draymond Green is officially out, and I think we might be I don't know this. I think we might be looking at like weeks, like maybe pushing a month. Who knows? Calf injury, MRI result tomorrow. Old busted ass guy with a back and calf injury history. I think that's a long time out. And there's no Kyle Anderson again, and there's no Brandon Podziemski again. So it might be Moses Moody. Now, it's probably Guy Santos Alhalpa who's going to get the start, but Moody might be the option there. Watch that one, and Kevon Looney gets a bump too. The Jazz injuries, you'll be shocked to know that John Collins is still managing this hip injury as they do a reverse trade showcase. He's out again. Larry Markkanen's back spasms. Oh my God, imagine that. They're up again. Jeez. Couldn't have seen it coming. The question is, what do you do with John Collins? Because obviously he put up numbers that I didn't expect. His season, I can't wait to do season recaps on him later on, because at the start of the year, he played like 24 minutes a night. I was like, that's not enough. And then even when Taylor Hendricks went down, he didn't start. And then he did start. And then he went absolutely bananas. And now he's just not playing. But if you drop him, does he ever come back and play for the Jazz? I don't know. Do they trade him into a spot where he's going to get the same role? Almost certainly not. But what if he does? I think in a lot of cases you could actually probably drop John Collins and it would be okay, but I don't know. What team is trading for him? And maybe there's just an obvious one that I'm missing, but who trades for him and he just starts Johnny Collins and rolling top 70? I'm not really sure who wants that. I don't know what to make of it. Some injury updates in Minnesota. Dante DiVincenzo is out, and Rudy Gobert is questionable. So we could get, deeper leagues, you want some Rob Dillingham minutes as the backup point guard. But you get some, maybe you get Leonard Miller playing time, but it's just more for Naz Reid, obviously, if Gobert is out. And then Evan Mobley's out, and they're calling it a calf strain, which is terrible news. They haven't given a time frame on it. There's been no real consternation from people, but usually that's at least a week. So it means George Niang, Max Strus, Karis LeVert, all these guys get a bit of a bump. Niang was the big winner last time. LeVert's going to be worth having a bit of a look at in some slightly deeper formats as well. So there you go. That's where we're at with those injury updates. Should we talk games? 7 of them. Let's do it. First game, San Antonio and Miami. Quite a bit to talk about in this one. The Heat win it easily. 128-107. And what is really, really interesting about this game, obviously there are certain things that are interesting that we're going to talk about, but the Heat win this game They win it easy. And Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo were not good. They didn't drive the win at all. And I said this, I said this 5-6 weeks ago. Now, I was very skeptical of Tyler Hero's improved shooting, and it has come down a little bit, but still not really. Like, he's been awesome. But I said it about 5 or 6 weeks ago. I said, is Hero the team's best player? I think it's almost unequivocal, honestly, at this point. It doesn't mean he's going to be the best player as we move forward, but he has been the best player on this team. And because Butler and Bam didn't do anything here. But let's talk Spurs side of it. Not a great game from Wemby. 21 and 10. 3 threes and a block. Inefficient from the field and weirdly inefficient from the line. He's obviously been ridiculously good, but he is slumping a little bit at the moment. The teams are doing some different things defensively on him. Devin Vassell's starting to feel more comfortable. 23 and 3 with 4 dribbles. 2 blocks. Inconsistent with the shooting, but good numbers. And we talked about Steph Castle, how he'd been bad all season. And in the last 3 games, he'd been ridiculous. The efficiency was up. The usage was through the roof. And he'd scored 20 points in 3 straight games. Well, back to sort of the regular old programming here. 11, 4 and 1. No defensive stats. Only took 8 shots. And that's more in line with what we get from him usually. Now, if you added him and streamed him, you can keep holding until Sohan is out. But at the moment, those games look like the outliers versus this one. Chris Paul had 10, 4 and 9. That's pretty good. You can't ask for much more there. While over-rostered legend, the horse, Keldon Johnson, needs to be jacked off.
Get that garbage out of here.
He had 8 points in 18 minutes. He's still rostered in 40% of leagues, according to Basketball Monster. That's 40% of 12-team leagues. What are we doing? Why? What are we holding him for? Come on, guys. Like, that doesn't make sense. The pencil. Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Played 31 minutes. He had 10 points. He had 5 rebounds, and that's sort of who he is. A deeper league guy that you can stream through in scheduled plus spots if you need to, but that's about it. Not a lot else going on there. I think in this game we had 22 minutes of Julian Champagny. Bubbles has definitely gone flat. 5 for him in 22 minutes, and they are just not prioritizing him. He is still rostered in an astonishing 23% of 12-team leagues, and that just doesn't need to be the case. In fact, I demand it. I demand that it isn't the case. The Miami Heat, they did start the game with the same starting lineup, but that's not the way that things went in the second half, did it? Because they did the thing. And we've talked about this a lot, or I've talked about it a lot. And Kel'el Ware as Bam Adebayo's backup wasn't going to get it done. Unless you thought there was a 24-24 minute split between him and Bam, which is not a realistic thing. Or Bam was going to get hurt. What we needed to see was Bam and Kel'el Ware playing together. And we hadn't. Outside of about 30 seconds. Until today. And we got it. Ware played 34 minutes. Bam still only got 25. But Kel'el Ware started the second half of this game over Haywood Highsmith. Now, we all know the Buddy Hield cycle, but are you aware of the Haywood Highsmith cycle? The 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 23 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 15, 15, 20, 20, 30, 30. All right, so he got 8 minutes today, Highsmith. So we're down to the, Spo hates me again. And he'll pop back up at some point. But we've said all along that I can see a future of Bam and Ware at some point starting together. Not necessarily this season. Spo isn't usually that likely to trust rookies in huge roles, and he hasn't done this at all. He hasn't played them together at all. Again, 30 seconds doesn't count. It's, for some of us in certain situations, we'll definitely claim that 30 seconds counts, but in terms of assessing how Bam and Ware work together, 30 seconds doesn't count. This does. So this is an absolute get out ahead of it spot now. It might very well be. They wanted Ware out there for defense on Wemby, and it enables Bam to do more other stuff, perimeter-wise, switching or whatever. That might be the case. Very, very, very possible. But this is one of the ones where I go, I don't care. I am a big get out ahead of it person, as you're well aware. But to me, this is different to say like a Nick Richards one, where I don't think Nick Richards' per minute production is that great. I think Ware's is. And I think the ability for Kel'el Ware to be an absolute top 50, top 40 fantasy monster, not this year, but for many years in his future, maybe it is this year, I don't know, I don't think so. That would make me go, huh. And if it doesn't work, whatever. It's all good. So Ware had 25 and 8, he played 34 minutes, he blocked 2 shots, he took 19 shots, he hit 53%, and he was 100% from the line. That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. That is an absolute must-add. This one, to me, and you will disagree with this. I know you will. And that's some of you will, some of you won't. Some people go, no, it's way better to be taking a chance on Nick Richards. I've seen Nick Richards play. I just don't think he's a good player. And I don't believe that he's a good player. I think Ware is going to be a good player. And I think he's got a much better fantasy skill set. So it's tipped over. Grab. Do it. Easy grab for me in this spot. Jaime Jaquez. Again, you look at the numbers. You got 12 and 6, 3 steals and a block. And you go, that's great. I love that. Why shouldn't we be adding him? Well, he played just 22 minutes. And 3 steals in 22 minutes and 71% shooting are not realistic numbers. We have seen, again, with Butler back, he's pushed into a bench role, a limited role, and I don't think that Jaime Jaquez is a 12-team league player. Again, when Butler was out, his minutes pulled back anyway. And if Butler does get traded, somebody is coming back. It is hard to trust a Heat rotation. Terry Rozier moved to the bench, played 31 minutes, had 20 points with 5 assists. Of course he did. Why wouldn't he do that? Well, Duncan Robinson also had 21 and 5 with 5 threes. That's great for both of those guys. Do I feel good about it? No. I would consider them streamers, and that's it. Because, of course, that meant that Jimmy Butler played 28 minutes. He did block 2 shots and have 7 assists, but he scored 8 points. Not interested. I wasn't interested in drafting Jimmy this season at all. I'm not interested in trading for him to buy low. I'm not interested in any of that stuff with him. He continues to be frustrating. He continues to be annoying. He continues to be a fantasy, not even disaster, because he's been a disaster, but you know what I mean. He's just annoying to deal with. And that's not great. There has to be a real discussion of what is going on with Bam Adebayo. Why? He only played 25 minutes here. 6 points on 9 shots stinks. He has had so many disgusting field goal percentage games. He had 11 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block, which is fine. He hasn't been dreadful, but he's not a top 50 player this season. He's taken huge steps back, and I don't really know what it is. I don't know why it's so bad. I don't know why he can't finish anymore. There was supposed to be talk Bam's going to start taking threes, and now he can't even hit twos. I don't get it. If someone who is a Miami Heat legend wants to chime in and say, this is the specific thing that I've seen with Bam that has changed, please let me know. I can't really figure it out. Admittedly, I don't watch every single Heat game. I don't. So I would like to hear if you see something different with Bam. Hero had 18, 6, and 7, so it's not his best game, but you know, it's fine. And I think even with Ware starting, little chungus, Nikola Jokic was still good. 14, 2, and 5, 2 steals and 4 threes. Now, I'm not going to really feel great that he only played 24 minutes, and the Highsmith and Jaquez all mix in there is a bit annoying. But if I'm holding on to him, I probably do hold Jovic over Jaquez, to be honest, and definitely over Highsmith, who played 8 minutes in this game. That will allow me to tell you that today's episode is brought to you now by PrizePicks. We're going to come back and talk other games. Don't worry about that. PrizePicks, though, is the best way for you to get real money action watching your favorite NBA stars. Well, it's PrizePicks. That's the way to do it. Whether you are a diehard fan, you're someone who just likes watching certain players or certain teams, PrizePicks enables you to have fun and put your money where your mouth is. How it works? Well, you just pick more or less on individual player stat projections. You put at least 2 of those into a lineup and you can win up to 1,000 times your cash, and you can get those entries in under 60 seconds. And with PrizePicks' flex play option, even if one of the picks doesn't hit, you can still double your money. Plus, once it hits, well, you can get your money fast, sometimes as quick as 15 minutes. It's the best way to keep things going at a medium pace. Now is the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That is right. There's no need to win to get the bonus. It is guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Took a while in that first game. I think there was probably a little bit more to talk about, especially with the Ware stuff and all the Miami stuff. The next game we look at is Denver and Orlando. Probably not as much going on in this game, but that doesn't mean we're not going to cover it. Just maybe not cover it as long as we did with the first one. The Nuggets win this one pretty easily. 113-100 is your final score here. And there was an interesting development in this game in terms of some of the Denver rotation stuff. Russell Westbrook had been playing really good minutes. He only got 25 here. 12, 5, and 6 in those 25 minutes. And the minutes lately, they're down a little bit. He's down to 27 minutes average over his last 5 games when he'd been pushing 30. So I thought maybe he could hold at 30 plus with Gordon back. It might not be the case. I'm still holding Westbrook in leagues, but 25 is going to make it a harder decision. And what we did get in this one, after, again, weeks of downturn in play, Christian Brown put up another big one. That's 2 in a row from Brownie. 20 and 11 for Brown in 36 minutes. And the 36 minutes is what's important. Now, it's echoing the beginning of the season with Brown because he went 7 of 7 from the line. And when I say something is fake, it's not fake, because it obviously happened, right? It happened. But in terms of, hey, is there any reliability in this? The answer is no, it's obviously not. He's not 100% shooter, nor is he a 7 free throw attempt guy. Same as going 6 of 10 from the field. Fake, not real, not a thing you can hang your hat on. And that is a lot of what he did earlier in the season. But the most important thing is instead of 28 minutes or 29 minutes, he played 36. Is that what they're doing now? They're minimizing Westbrook again? I'm not sure. But we want to watch it, don't we? Aaron Gordon, I don't think you have to drop him, but I do think that is the upside when he gets back to regular minutes, is it worth holding through this? 9 and 3 in 22 minutes. I would say for a lot of people, the answer to that is no. It might be yes, but it might be no. The Poop Cookie had 15 and 6. Michael Porter in 28 minutes. Again, this was a little bit of a blowout. Jokic played only 30 minutes. And that accounts for some of the Westbrook stuff and for some of the Brown minutes as well. While Strowler had another 7 points. He's been playing better. This is not his best game, though. Strowler's at least a deeper league 3-point stream guy. On the Orlando side, something that we do need to pay attention to. I don't really know how real it is, but Wendell Carter Jr. put together another big game. 34 minutes for Wendell, 16, 14, and 5, 2 steals and a block. That's really good, clearly. That's 2 big ones in a row from Wendell. I think it's 2 in a row. That's two really good games here from Wendell, at least in these last 3 games. And there is still no Goga Bitadze available here. While I don't think that this necessarily means that Wendell Carter is a 12-team league ad, it means he is very, very firmly on the list to be a stream guy while Goga is out. Now, Goga could return, and we'll talk about the Goga part in a sec, but Goga could return and then limit Carter back. But what I think this run of games, and I've said this all along, is that I think that Wendell could start because of a fit with Banchero. These games suggest to me, I've played these games before, these games suggest to me that Carter now has a larger chance than 50-50 of remaining the starter over Goga. That is just speculation from me. I have not heard the Magic say anything like that. I've not heard Mosley say anything to those ideas. But it is convenient / coincidental. It's coincidental, not convenient. It's coincidental that Banchero returns, Goga gets hurt, Wendell starts, and puts up good numbers. Now, the Magic have lost all these games, so maybe they don't want that to be the case. And I'm not advocating a rush to add Carter. I don't think we necessarily need to do it. But it's worth consideration. I'd also say, have the Magic lost these games because Goga has been out, or have they lost them because Jalen Suggs has been out? That would be the question for me. Because they won one game against the Sixers with Suggs out, one random one against the Knicks, and every other game's been a loss. And they have lost the last 3 without Goga against the Bucks, Celtics, and Nuggets. 3, awesome teams. So I do think there is a pretty strong chance here that Wendell starts over Bitadze moving forward, and that would likely mean that Bitadze is not a 12-team league guy. And in fact, if I had to make a call, do I drop Goga to add Kel'el Ware? I think I would do that. But that could blow up horribly. Ware might go back and play 17 minutes. Goga comes in back to 30 minutes in the next game. Easily possible. That's not how I think it's going to go. But you think about it in your head. Do you think that's what will happen? Because it can't be written off. It's not an Omer Yurtseven situation. It is a possibility. Tristan da Silva copped a cut on the head, and he had 12 points in 31 minutes with 2 threes and 2 steals. His previous games have been pretty rough. This is a good one. I don't think it changes anything for us there. While Cole Anthony, I would hold him. It was bad. 9 points on 31%. He had 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. I hold him until Suggs comes back. Might be next game. And the other one we have to look at there is that he's 2 good games in a row for Mr. Black. Anthony Black had 14 points. He had 5 assists. He had 2 steals and a block. Absolutely really good those last 2 games. Obviously, we have seen little portions of good stuff from Black before. And it doesn't last. And when Suggs returns, it's probably not going to last. But as a stream guy for some steals, blocks, and assists, maybe. Banchero was absolutely brutal, except he somehow got 2 steals and 2 blocks. But he had 10 points on 24%. He was 2 of 3 from the line. 10, 7, and 5 with no threes is bad. Actually, you know what? It's not bad. It's not bad. I take it back. The scoring is bad. But if I ignore the points category and say he had 7 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, I go, that is the base of that's a really big, booty supporting a baddie type fantasy line. What have I been doing? Yeah, don't worry about that. The shooting, though, is horrific. And it kills. All right? Kills you. And we know that the percentage categories are multipliers. So that makes it look way worse. So it's annoying. It's frustrating. Absolutely. But it's not a disaster. John Isaac, who played 27 minutes about 3 games ago, played 12 here. So yeah, if you can figure out what's going on with him, I would love to know. Maybe we'll talk to his publisher about it. Actually, you know what? That one did take me a long time as well. Oh well, we're good. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL playoffs are here. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. New customers to FanDuel can bet $5, and then you win that first $5 bet, and they give you $300 in bonus bets. FanDuel's been sponsoring this show for a long time. I don't think we've ever done $300 in bonus bets before. $300 if you win your first $5 bet. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate. There are all the different bet types, straight up money lines, spreads, totals, individual team totals, anytime touchdown scorers, individual player props, parlays. All that stuff is available on the app. So easy. So whatever it is you're doing when watching the playoffs, FanDuel's going to be there with you. So visit FanDuel.com and join today to get started with $300 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, the next game, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Brooklyn Nets. We had some lineup shenanigans from the Nets prior to the game. Not really sure why they needed to do it. It was pretty annoying because we've seen this before where if a player gets downgraded on game day to questionable, they're not going to play, right? But they still named Ben Simmons in their starting lineup, and I don't really know why you would do that. Why? Who are you trying to fool? I don't know. But anyway, Simmons didn't play, of course. So that meant D'Angelo Russell moved into the starting lineup. And Cam Johnson returned, but it wasn't Zaire Williams moving to the bench, which is important to note. It was Keon Johnson. So a couple of interesting changes. Let's start with D'Lo, who played still just 24 minutes. He had 9, 4, and 7. He shot poorly. 9, 4, and 7 actually still is okay. It's just frustrating the way these minutes are going to go, and I think they're going to be this way a lot of the time. But this game was an absolute destruction. Cam Johnson played 25 minutes for 15 points. Nick Claxton had 11 and 5, and honestly, I think he's droppable. I don't think he's going to be playing 30 minutes a night moving forward. He's been bad in the games he's played. In fact, Jack, should we do it? Let's issue an edict. Nick Claxton.
Get that garbage out of here.
As always, when I do that, you don't have to. It doesn't mean they have to be dropped. It's just that I think it can happen. Clowney he had a block. Holy shit. Oh my God, he had a block. 9, 4, and 2. No, that's not true. 9, 4, and 0 with a steal and a block, and shot horribly. Now, he'd been shooting pretty well, especially from 3, but was bad in this one. All of his shots actually, I believe, came from three-point land. Yeah, he only took 3s. Hit 2 of them, 2 of 8. It could have obviously been a lot better. Could have been a 14 and 4 game with a steal and a block, which is fine. He still remains someone to me that in March will be more consistent and more useful, but you don't need to hold on to him at this point. Tyrese Martin had 15 and 6. Cool, can't trust that. Zaire Williams had a steal and a block, and he's a pretty regular accumulator of defensive stats, Zaire, and that's okay, but it is hard to trust. Keon on the bench had 6 points in 23 minutes, and Jalen Wilson had 8, 3, and 2. Just garbage all around. The guy to keep an eye on just for you deeper leagues is Tosan Evbamwan. Tosan played 21 minutes. He had 9, 4, and 2 with a block. He has been getting 20 minutes a night consistently. He's been like a top 185 player over the last 2 weeks. And that's not a 10 or a 12-team league guy, but there were moments last season when he was on the Pistons where he had 12-team relevance. Now, there are going to be situations here when Russell is out, or Claxton is out, or Johnson is out. By the way, no idea when Thomas is returning. Soon, hopefully, but I don't know. And Evbamwan will play 30 minutes. He'll have a random, weird, high-efficiency, high-rebound game. And it'll be useful. We're not stashing him outside of deeper formats, but just he is in the mix. But I think Zaire is sort of pushing himself ahead of the Zaire, Keon, Clowney, Evbamwan, Tyrese Martin grouping. I don't think any of them are must. I still have Clowney and Zaire at the top, but I've moved Jalen Wilson and Keon Johnson down a little bit. On the Thunder side of things, they are dealing with some busy schedule periods and just some guys getting banged up, and it's helpful when you play against the Nets. So the Bronco, Jalen Williams sat out of this one, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander returned, and Isaiah Joe actually jumped into the starting lineup in place of Aaron Wiggins. Wiggins still played. As for Shai, only 29 minutes needed, 27, 3, and 10, 4 steals and a block. This question will get asked, and I know because I've seen it get asked multiple times. People go, man, do I need to move off of Shai because of shutdowns in fantasy playoffs because they're too good? No, you don't. I don't think that is going to be a thing, and usually very good team. Now, Boston did it for a period of time last season, and they had random games off just to preserve themselves. But you do not get players waiting for the playoffs as they're flying and say, we're out for 2 weeks. That doesn't happen. The Thunder aren't like, are they going to be like, because the Celtics are like 14 games up at that point in the season. I don't think the Thunder are going to be that far ahead. Maybe they are, but I don't think they are. Right? So I don't think there's any worry about them just sitting Shea for the last 2 weeks. Will there be some games off? Yeah, that probably does. That probably does happen at some point. But it's not going to be any more than any other player. And I don't think it's anything to worry about, really. I don't think so. What else should we talk about here? Lou Dort delivered an absolute Dort masterpiece. Hang it in the Dort Louvre. 8 points. No, not 8. 8 is the wrong word. I wish it was 8. He had 0 points in 21 minutes. He had no steals or blocks either. 0 of 6 from the field. An absolute Dort masterpiece. You know what happens with Dort. You stream him in, he might get 21 points on 5 shots. Or you get whatever this garbage is. Wiggins had 12, 3, and 5 off the bench. Joe had some foul trouble, but 24 points with 8 triples. For those of you who can count, that is all those points from threes. We know he does this, but he's also nowhere near reliable enough to do it. You stream him in when you want some threes, and that's probably about it. But the other big one to pay attention to here is Pig Williams. First game, did he replace Isaiah Hartenstein? Foul trouble, didn't do anything. The last 2 games, really good. Is he awesome? No, not at all. Is he worth streaming in for the time being while Hartenstein is out? Probably, yeah. He probably is. That's some really good performances. Also, deeper leagues. Brandon Carlson, backup minutes, 18 minutes, 8 and 5, 2 3, steal, block. He's playing real rotation minutes last 3 games. You have to look at Brandon Carlson if you are in deeper leagues. He is a useful short-term streamer, absolutely. Caruso did absolutely nothing, and he is not a 12-team league guy. 6, 3, and 3 when there's no defensive stats where you don't get much more. This game was that much of a blowout. We got 21 Usman Jeng minutes for those of you keeping your Jeng counter going over. I want Usman Jeng to have a big game so I can drop a Jenga headline somewhere, but probably not going to do that. Doubtful it's going to happen. The next game is the old mates Milwaukee Bucks, the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers continue to be terrible. They got smashed 123-109. It brings up the questions about a lot of these players. Like, what do we do? What do we do with these guys? There will be a concern. And I'm going to let you get your concern. Let it swirl in your brain. Bring it, coalesce it. Get it ready. Spew it out through your fingertips like you're shooting Palpatine lightning to tell me, Paul George shut down? Yeah, I know Paul George didn't play with ankle soreness. They're bad, but they're not Nets bad. They're not Hornets bad. They're not Jazz bad. They're not Portland bad. They're not Wizards bad. It would take a lot to out-tank those teams. Because remember, those teams aren't going to win. So there's only so many games you can lose to catch them in the standings. Yeah, it's really annoying that Embiid is out again. That George is out again. It's annoying. But I don't think they're just going to sit these guys the rest of the season. The Sixers in this game had no Embiid, no Drummond, no Yabusele. So that meant that we got a dem boner. And then he fouled out in 24 minutes. But 10 and 6, stealing a block from Boner. Some might say that's bonerific. Well done to the big fella. I do believe there is a quality backup big man in Boner. Well, maybe there's a Boner and a quality backup big man somewhere as well. But I don't know. Adem was good. He was solid. He's useful, but this is literally the 4th string center. As much as I think he might be better than that, that is the 4th string center. Maxey was great, and you don't get these big efficiency games from Maxey usually when everyone's out. But 37, 6, and 7 on 50% is unbelievable. Old mate, the mayor, Ricky Council IV, had 13 and 4 with 3 threes and 2 steals. His minutes are up at the moment, and that's at least deep league streamable. While Justin Edwards, it was announced before the game that he was going to start, and they did a switcheroo when Eric Gordon started, but it didn't matter because we got 33 minutes out of Edwards anyway. He didn't do very much in them, 7 points on 8 shots, but the minutes are there. And again, in deeper leagues, getting 30 minutes a night on a team banged up like we are with Justin Edwards. No long-term value, unless they do actually shut things down, and I don't think they will. Edwards is worth at least paying attention to. And then, like, what have we got here? Like, Pete Nance. That's a real person. Pete Nance. I know. It's Larry's brother. It's Larry's son. 8 points. 24 minutes. 2 threes. Sick. This is not even a double onyx. This is a, like, coming tonight level league. Do you know what coming tonight is? That's what you'll be doing later. Ew. All right. The Milwaukee Bucks. Should we get into that? But coming tonight is actually a type of crystal. You should have a look. Look it up. I went on a big crystal watching, precious metals and crystals. What's your favorite What's your favorite metal? What's your weirdest metal? We were debating this last night. Here we go. Sidebar. What's your favorite, most weird metal? My partner, I think, won it because she said mercury. I mean, yeah, fair enough. Mercury is the weirdest metal, right? I think sodium is up there, though. And here's why. Because sodium's a metal. Many people don't actually know that. I sound like, I don't even know. I sound like one of those people, people didn't actually know that. But sodium's weird because you put metal and you put it in water and it explodes. Like, what? That's crazy. But one of my favorite metals is bismuth. Because, the crystals that form, it looks like quantum mania. Also, I saw videos on how you can do that at home on your stovetop with a saucepan, which seems wildly crazy. Anyway, what a sidebar on metals, precious or otherwise, and their weird properties. Let's talk about the Bucks. That's probably more on track where we need to go. Andre Jackson returned. That meant Ryan Rollins moved to the bench. Bobby Portis only 19 minutes, 6 and 8 for him in this game, and shot 20%. It has been, speaking of roller coasters, which I wasn't, but it's really hard with him, right? There are games when he plays big minutes and he produces, but you can't rely upon that often enough. 167th over the last 2 weeks. He's outside the top 100 for the season. He's hard to drop. He's one of those guys that I don't want to draft because I don't want to put myself in this position every week of going, yeah, he's playing like 22 minutes. That's not enough. And then he comes out and is a top 40 player for a week, and then he's back outside the top 200. Like, I hate putting myself in that position where I know that if he plays, the minutes are there, or the production's there, but what about if 80% of the season he plays 21 minutes? That's not good enough. And then again, that's where we all tie back to that original discussion. Not original, but it's a discussion that I've had about how rankings and evaluation of fantasy tends to lean towards roto, and 95% of people don't play that. So we can look at his numbers over the course of the season. Well, he was actually ranked this player. That if you go like 30, 30, 30, 30, then 180 every other week, is an overall rank of 90 worth it? Probably not. It's an off-season discussion that I'm having in the middle of the year. Yanni had 34, 15, and 6. Lillard had 25, 5, and 4, and Lopez played his 36 minutes. We're probably due for Lopez to play 22 in a game coming up. Middleton played 25 minutes, and those numbers are great. 8 assists in 25 minutes is awesome. It doesn't feel like he's going to push to 30, but those numbers are they're getting it done towards the back end of rosters. Still don't know how high the upside is for Middleton this season, but those numbers are strong. And the artist formerly known as Torian Prince had 11 points. He hit 3 threes. He did his thing. He's a 3-point streamer when things are getting really, really desperate. And now we go to the 3 late games to finish out our 7-game day. The Lakers and the Clippers into a dome. Anthony Davis returned. Jackson Hayes went back to the bench. Didn't really matter that much for the Lakers. They got cooked. 116-102. Felt like it was a larger margin than this. LeBron, 23, 5, and 11 with 3 steals and a block. That's a really good game from him. Anthony Davis just wasn't quite there. And I think that a lot of these foot issues that he's had might be sort of catching up a little bit. So we just keep an eye on it. He played 37 minutes, but 16 and 10 with 3 blocks. Austin Reeves also seemed to hurt his leg at the end. Came out with about 3 minutes to go. Didn't return. We keep an eye on it. 14, 2, and 3. And if he doesn't play, well, it's going to mean more for Christie, but it means someone like Gabe Vincent's going to start. For those of you in deep leagues, you'd have to look at Vincent there. Reeves had 14, 2, and 3. It was also a good game from Rui Hachimura. I'm not adding him, very clearly, but he had 19 and 7. That's a pretty good performance. Dalton Connect was okay, and that's a deeper league spot there. 10 points, 2 threes, but obviously we don't care that much there. And Christie had 10 points in 23 minutes. I don't think that Max Christie's a 12-team league guy. He's streamable at least, but that's about it. And then Dorian Finney-Smith returned, played 22 minutes, and Gabe Vincent had 4 points in his playing time. Obviously, they're not 12-team league guys, either of those players, but there's someone who can sort of cut into Hachimura or even have to replace Christie. Oh, not Christie, Vincent. Vincent can replace Reeves in the case that Reeves did actually hurt himself. Now, heading into this game, a lot of these Clippers players were all questionable. Harden, Powell, Zubats, Dunn. They're all questionable. They all played. So we'll see what that means because they've got a 4-game in 5-night period coming up here. Zubats, huge, massive game in his, let's say, is it still a revenge game? If I say it's not a revenge game when someone's played their former team 3 times, then when they have a good game against their former team, do we going to count that still? I don't know. The rules are all up in the air. 21 and 19 for Zubats. He cooked Davis in this one. He had 3 blocks. Powell was efficient again. Not from 3, but from 2-point land in this one. 22 points with 3 steals. And Harden had 21, 4, and 12. There was a period a few weeks ago where Harden's assists had dried right up. But now we're getting some better numbers. And Kawhi looked really solid. 19 points. He had 4 assists. He shot 69%. Now, he won't play tomorrow. And I would expect you get a sit maybe from Harden, maybe. I need to watch that injury report. Not much else going on there. Derek Jones started over Chris Dunn. Dunn played, what do you have, 12 minutes? Yeah, we don't roster him outside of streaming. And Jones had 9 points in his 25 minutes. I don't think we need to go much further than that. Some very interesting things in the next game. Chicago and Portland. The Blazers, they win. 113-102 is your final score. We'll start on the Chicago side of things. Same lineup they trotted out there. Vooch played 35 minutes. Now, the efficiency was a little bit down, well, the field goal percentage anyway, but he added some interesting little bonuses. 7 assists and 3 steals with a block. 17-11 overall. Yeah, pretty good game. Zach LaVine had 27, 4 and 5, 2 steals and a block. Pretty good game. The rest, though, not quite there. Kobe White, after a real hot streak, has cooled off. He had 9 points. He shot 40%. We're not there. We're not there on this one, but I think we're going to drop Josh Giddey. 0 points in 29 minutes. Missed the only 2 shots that he took. He had a steal and a block, and this is a game without Lonzo Ball. It's not looking good, man. Dosunmu got to 32 minutes without ball. He was, fine. You know my thoughts on Dosunmu. I think he is a serviceable rotation guard. But he needs to be on a bad team with usage players out, and he needs to be playing 35 minutes. Now, this is a bad team, and it might have usage players out at some point. But with the way they're currently going, those opportunities aren't really there. So he's a fringe 12-team guy. Pat Williams' best game, which is not saying much, 15 points with 2 threes, and then what do we need to talk about here? Here's an interesting stat that I saw. You know who the Bulls' leader in total blocks is this season? It's Matas Buzelis. Yeah, the rookie, who they just won't play. He had another 2 of them here, and he's been doing it consistently when he plays. It's just a name to watch. Williams isn't it. This team is garbage, but they just refuse. They refuse to do the things that turn you into a maybe good team in the future. So just keep an eye on Buzelis, who had 7 and 3 with a steal and 2 blocks in 15 minutes. I don't think he's a good player necessarily. He's not a good shooter, but the defensive stats are there very clearly. Portland is a little bit more positive for today. And you know me, I'm a huge Blazers positivity legend. So let's talk about a bit of that positivity because something happened. Something happened. They made a change. And I've talked a lot about how Scoot Henderson was the guy that I was extraordinarily high on as the number 2 player in the draft. And it's looked bad. He has looked bad. More importantly, the team has not given any faith in playing him. I tweeted this out and on Blue Sky as well. You can check it out. Talking about or showing a graph of Darko, which is a forward projecting value thing that adjusts. And where Scoot is now is basically the same age that Brandon Miller was when he was drafted. So keep that in mind. And their overall DPM, Miller's are sort of trending down a bit and Scoot's is going up. They're almost at the same spot. And Scoot's a year younger. So that's an interesting... Amen Thompson, by the way, miles ahead of everybody. Well, not Wemby, but those 2 guys. But what I said about Scoot was Grant was out, Avdi was out. They forced to start him. He played big minutes and he went back to the bench. But in this game, something important happened. Because Shaedon Sharpe got benched. He wasn't out for resting. He got benched. That is very obviously a change. That's a change. As simple as that. So Scoot started. Sharpe went to the bench. Now, Anthony Simons was also out in this game. And that meant that Denny Avdia came back and started. And then DeAndre Ayton returned and Robert Williams was out. So I don't know what happens. If Simons returns, does Scoot go to the bench and they go Simons, Kamara, Avdia, Grant? I don't like the look of that. I don't get how you can limit what Scoot is doing. 38 minutes, 25, 7, and 8 with 2 steals. Yes, it's the Bulls. But he is now a must-roster player. It is bloody hard as a point guard to do stuff in the NBA as a rookie. And that's why in the draft season, I was like, hey, let's take a look at the second-year point guards because they often can have big pop-offs. Now, Keontae George and Scoot Henderson were the 2 guys I looked at, and they both started the season horribly. Scoot's coming good. George is looking better. They could still blazer this because there was no Simons here and that could change things. But Scoot starting over Sharpe feels meaningful to me. Denny was also really good. 20 and 12 in 35 minutes with 3 steals. Are they going to commit to giving him the minutes? Is he the guy that goes to the bench when Simons returns? Do they even need Simons back? Well, they don't, but will they? I'm still not sure. Jeremy Grant was this is Jeremy Grant, man. 18 points. Okay, that's looking good, man. 1 rebound. 0 assists. Come on, man. He blocked 1 shot at least. He was 6 of 6 in the line, but I'm not sure that he's a must-roster guy, and I'll continue to reiterate this point. I don't think Tamati Kamara is. Now, the thing about the Blazers is they have this unbelievable schedule towards the end of the week. So you hold Kamara, and you probably want to hold Grant maybe through that. Kamara was scoreless. That is 3 of his last 4 games with horrendous field goal percentage. He had a steal and a block, but to me, that is what he is. A slightly above average rebounder for his position who can get a steal. I don't think he's a must-roster guy. 37 minutes for the Snowman, 15 and 13 for DeAndre Ayton with 2 blocks and 2 free throws. What is this day? Wow, it is miraculous time. And then Delano Banton, who'd been getting 20 minutes a night, played 9. At some point, Banton will probably get a role. I don't think he's a long-term good prospect or anything like that. But it is interesting. I'll talk sharp. He played 33 minutes. He had 23 points. He sort of did his thing, and that's fine. But how they now manage this, and I don't think you can put the Scoot Henderson genie back into the bottle and play him 24 minutes a night now. If you've benched Sharp to start Scoot, I don't think now you can say, all right, we're benching Scoot again, especially after a performance like this. We will see what NBA Coach of the Year Chauncey Billups does, but I don't think that's really something you're going to do. So to me, there are 2 really clear must-roster guys from today's action, Kel'el Ware and Scoot Henderson, and we'll see where we go with it. The final game of the day is the Washington Wizards and the Sacramento Kings. The Kings win at 123-100. Valanciunas in 23 minutes had 23 and 12 on 82% shooting, so that's really, really strong, obviously. But that's not going to happen. He's not an 82% shooter. He's not a 26 usage guy necessarily, nor is he going to play 23 minutes. We know the thing is, if he gets 21 minutes, he's useful. If he plays 17, he's not. And that's about finding out how they use the minutes. They didn't go the 8-man rotation in this game. In fact, they actually spread the minutes out a lot compared to yesterday. And Sarr played only 22 minutes and was bad. And I think that leads to, Valanciunas couldn't miss, Sarr couldn't hit, so they flipped the minutes. I still don't think that Valanciunas has to be a must roster, although it always looks stupid when you say that, and he has 23 and 12. But look at the games before. They don't add up to being great. Keyshawn George hit 2 threes. He had a steal and a block, but he is absolutely not a 12-team league guy. Kuzma was fine and sort of, I guess, 13 and 7 on 20%, which stinks. Like I also said on the waiver wire show earlier today, he will have games that are good and he'll have games that are bad, but in general, I think I just would want to be rid of the problem. Jordan Poole didn't back up his big game yesterday. He had 11 points in 28 minutes and not much else going on. Carrington, another very, very mid-game, and he is not a 12-team league player. I also don't know that you need to roster Bilal. Bad field goals, bad free throws, no assists, steals, blocks, or threes. Bilal is now outside the top 240 over the last 2 weeks. He's outside the top 140 for the season, so he's top 120. I think that in a lot of cases, you could drop him and feel all right and maybe re-add him later on. Maybe. But yeah, it's been very rough for quite a while here, to be honest, for Bilal. And then on the Kings side of it, Keegan Murray, just nothing, man. Just can't get really anything to go consistently. 4 points on 25%. He did have a steal and a block. 2 steals and a block. But as always, what's the usage? Yeah, it's yuck. DeRozan also couldn't hit shots, 43% for him on 24 points, 6 rebounds and 2 steals. And Keon Ellis only played 18 minutes. So you're going to get excited about Ellis. Man, he had 18 points. He hit 6 threes. It's got to happen. They've got to do it. But he played 18 minutes. 18. He shot 75% to get this. If you had him and you started him, the result is actually great. But like we've seen all the way through, is that when they're healthy, he plays 20 minutes. And it's not enough. Monk had 23 and 4. Fox struggled with his shot, 33%, 12, 5, and 13. And Sabonis had a big 29, 18, and 4 game. The thing is going to be the Alice one is the discussion. But 18 minutes, I don't care who you are, is not enough outside of a stash or a desperation stream for steals. And how he gets more minutes? Well, Doug Christie just has shown that he won't do it. He might change his mind in the past, but nothing we have seen from Doug suggests that he will change this mix up or find a way to get 28 minutes to Alice when the starters are all intact. Nothing suggests that because it literally hasn't happened. So let's give out some awards, I guess. Your monstrous line of the night. I think I glossed over this line a little bit because it is Nikola Jokic and he just sort of does this stuff a lot. But he had 3 steals and 3 blocks to go with 20 and 14 and 10 assists. You don't get that out of Jokic very often, do you? The waiver wire line of the night. Good performance from a guy that's available in a lot of different spots. Wendell Carter Jr. 16, 14, and 5. We had a long discussion about Wendell earlier in the show. The young gun of the night. I didn't even have to make it the non-Wemby division because Wemby wasn't here. This is Scoot Henderson time. 25 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. He is looking very good. Things could turn tits up at any point. but he looks good at the moment. And speaking of tits up, the dud of the night, it's Lu Dort. Of course it is. 0, 3, and 3. Missed all 6 of his shots, and he absolutely stunk. And that is going to wrap it up for a Penguin Awareness Sunday in the NBA. So tell me, what were your takeaways? Are you too blinded by your Nick Richards posters to see what happened in the other games? Are you adding Scoot, Kel'el Ware? They should be added. What are you doing with annoyances like Jeremy Grant or Kyle Kuzma? Please, let me know down below. Hit the thumb while you're doing it. Leave those comments. Subscribe on audio as well. Don't forget the trade deadline show, but also don't forget to trade yourself out of self-negative talk and trade into a more positive space. I had to do it today to myself as well. I just sat there and go, man, what did I do wrong on Nick Richards? And this is serious. It's so frustrating. Because I've seen him play. I don't think he's very good, but why couldn't I just said, yes, the minutes are great. And I said, yeah, but okay. You stick to your process and you work on it and you will get some things wrong, but there are other things that are good. And you're always working to reflect, reevaluate, and move forward. Shout out to BDNR. Shout out to you guys. And shout out to Michael Bolton. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.